And of course, it's showing the old stream. It always does that. All right. There we go. Now we can actually see ourselves. Cool. Hey, folks. Welcome back to the Dev Twitch stream. Uh, Today we are doing a pairing session. As always, I'm here with my awesome coworker, Christina Gorton. Um, Christina, you want to say a little bit about yourself before I'll introduce myself after, and then we'll get to our guest.
Yep, I'm Christina Gorton. I'm the open source community manager at Dev, along with other side projects I do, like teaching courses and technical writing. And that is me. Nick, tell us about
Cool.
you.
All right. I like to take long walks on the beach. No, my name is Nick Taylor. I'm a senior software engineer. Nothing wrong with beaches, by the way. I'm a senior software engineer at Forum. Forum is the software that powers Dev. I focus mainly on the front end at Forum right now, but dabble in a bit of Ruby on occasion, like we will be today. And with that, I'll move it over to our guest, Maria Antons. Am I saying your last name right? I don't think I've ever said it out loud
You're
before.
saying it right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I
Yep.
wasn't sure
That's
if it
right.
was that or like in French, like Anton or something. So, cool. All right.
No,
So,
no.
Marie, if you just want to say hi to everybody and just say a bit about yourself as much as you'd like to.
Yep. I'm Maria Antons. I am a junior software developer for a company called Stratafolio in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I just began my coding journey last year, and I went to Delta V Code School. Before
Okay.
that, before that, I was a chef, and I went through culinary school. But we took a 4-year break in Bermuda, so
Nice.
I couldn't work here. So when I returned back to the U.S., I was looking to create my own pasta website, and
Okay.
I really was like, oh, I don't want to find someone to do it for me. I'd rather just try to do it myself. So that's what really got me into programming because I really fell in love with it after that.
You know, Nick,
Cool.
before we got on this stream, Maria was like, I don't know what to say about myself. I thought that was fantastic. I think that's cool. You
Yeah.
had a break in
So.
Bermuda, you were a chef, you were going to make up.
Yeah,
Yeah, no biggie.
yeah,
Just lots of really cool stuff, I guess, So, but that's cool. Before we get started there, when you mean chef, were you like a pastry chef, like a regular chef? Like I don't know what a
just a
regular
regular
chef
one.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
What's a regular chef?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I did a
So
bit of everything.
Cool.
so you must have some serious knife skills. I used to work in I worked in kitchens and well restaurants when I was in university and stuff, and
Hmm.
I never got that, like the like the cutting there, because like I would probably sever my
Yep.
arm, but I got good at cutting chicken wings, and the one thing I learned, which I'm sure you know, is like a sharp knife is always safer than a dull knife. So,
Yep.
and
Yeah. He
yes,
also burned
this
himself last week with the cookie
oh
sheet,
yeah,
so maybe we should
yeah,
leave
right
the
there.
cooking to Maria.
Yeah, and
That
that
was
and
months
that's
ago.
why I
That
do
was.
web. Yeah, that's why I do web development now because I clearly do not know how to take things out of an oven. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Christina. Because for those watching, no, I do not have a leech on my arm. I'm not doing some kind of medieval blood draining or
Uh,
anything. I've been putting aloe on it every day, so if my arm looks shiny, that's why. So,
no.
anyways, I guess I'm good at burning my arm or damaging myself. It I even did like you ever seen like Looney Tunes cartoons like Bugs Bunny and stuff?
Hmm.
Last week I was cleaning something. I'm just basically embarrassing myself here on the stream, but I was in the shed because because winter's coming in Montreal, so you got to put all the summer stuff away, and I had this broom, but it's like those big brooms that you see janitors in schools pushing, and I stepped on it, and the thing went like whack, like right in my face, and I thought for sure like I was gonna have a black eye or something, but anyways, I'm okay, the
Nice.
broom's okay, and winter is coming. So there we go. Just a little icebreaker there. Uh, anyways, we will actually talk about pertinent things today. Um,
Oh.
so Christina's gonna post a link to the issue we're gonna work on today. I'm just gonna share it on my screen here. Just give me 2 seconds. Hopefully I share the right thing and don't show, not that I have anything embarrassing on my computer screen, but cool. So yeah, so we're gonna be working on this issue today, Marie. I think you've taken a look at it already, but
Yep.
there's some issues with so I guess let's rewind a little bit to just more to put folks up to speed with everything. But so there's something called liquid tags that it's something that exists outside of Forum. It's like a little, I guess it's like a library for embedding external resources like a code pen, any kind of playground for a programming language, YouTube videos, etc. So these things exist in on Dev currently, but also Forum, which is the software behind Dev. And I'm just gonna see if I can show one here. Okay, it's not switching tabs. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, I'm gonna share just so I can demo this. Give me 2 seconds. And this is more just to make sure like everybody's on the same page with what we're talking about. Okay, I want to just share the whole browser window. Done. Screen share. Screens. Yeah, let's just do that. I'm going on the full screen, sure. Okay. Cool. And there. All right, we see it now. Cool. All right. So let me go to this tab over here. There's a bit of delay on the stream, so I'll wait till it pops up. I'm just taking a peek at the live stream. Okay. Oh, I'm getting a bit of Inception thing going on there, eh? Okay.
You're just showing
There's
me
like
a lot
100
of me.
There's
Hey
always something
everyone.
technical that I always do wrong. So I will one day become a professional streamer, maybe. Okay, so we're on the dev site, and okay, cool. Now I see it. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna write a post here. So some test post, and then what you can do is you can have text. So hello. I'm gonna zoom in a bit here. And if you want to use a liquid tag, use this syntax. So it's it's the squiggly brackets, percent sign, and then you close it with percent sign, squiggly brackets. And if you look on the right here, if you click on the help under editor basics, there's a liquid tag section. And it shows you all the liquid tags that are currently supported on Dev. And so you can see, like, for example, here's one where you can show a user from Dev. Um, I don't know if the podcast one is in here yet, because that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so this is an example of what we want to do. I don't think that link actually exists though, so I'm gonna just go with I'm gonna go to Twitter for a second. I'm just gonna grab the first tweet that pops into my feed. Hopefully it is safe for work, because if not, I might not be on the stream ever again. All right.
Just me
Okay.
for now on.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Liquid
This
tag
one looks.
kind of remind me of like mustache or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It looks similar to that. Yeah, mustache, handlebars. Okay, so we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do a Twitter one here, and I'm just gonna paste it in. The way it works with the Twitter ones is you need to just have the ID, and let me delete that. One thing that I still haven't got around to doing it, but I think it would be great if you could just paste the whole Twitter URL in and it worked, but currently that's not supported. So what this says is I have a liquid tag, and the type of liquid tag I want is going to be Twitter. And here is the relevant arguments to pass to this liquid tag so that I can render it. So if we go into preview mode, haha, bad authentication time. Okay, great. Maybe I'm not logged in. I don't know. Let's see here. I just rebuilt my local environment, so give me 2 seconds. It's the Murphy's Law is saying hello to me today, so I'm just gonna sign out, sign back in. Sometimes when I rebuild my local, it kills your session, but there's some local storage that stays there. So, all right,
Yep.
let's try this again. Okay, some test photos. You're kidding me. No, you're killing me. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the real dev site then. Okay.
It's you don't have a space
Here.
after Twitter or before
Oh yeah,
Twitter.
I don't think it matters, but we'll test that real quickly. Yeah, okay. So I'll just wait a sec here because there's a delay in the thing. Okay, it's popping up now. So you can see here when I'm in preview mode, you can see the embedded tweet. This is the first one from a mutual follower. She's trying to learn French on Netflix. But basically, this is how you can embed a liquid tag into a blog post. I'm not positive if you can do it in a listing, which is something else on Dev, but I know 100% for sure it works in the editor. So that's just kind of like a rundown of what a liquid tag is and how you can use them, just to give a little kind of, I don't know, I guess a little, preview of this is what we're kind of working on. I'm just
I
gonna
just realized
rebuild
I
my
used to use
local.
these when I worked with Drupal. I used to use liquid tags. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, there's Shopify. I can't remember. I'm not positive, but I think Shopify might have created these. I'm not positive about that.
I think you're
And
right,
it's
or
been,
at least they're popular from Shopify.
yeah. I don't know if somebody can fact check that in the chat there, if anybody wants to do a Google of liquid tag and Shopify. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a sec here. Or actually, we might as well go back to the issue. There should be a delay, but give it 2 seconds. So we're back to there. All right, okay, cool. So that's what a liquid tag is. That's how you can use one. Okay, yeah, Meg in the chat saying, yeah, Shopify invented them. So there you go. Props to you, Shopify folks. Thank you. And I think Shopify is a Ruby shop too, so I guess it makes sense. That's where it all started. But I know you can use liquid tags elsewhere too, though, because I've worked a lot in .NET, like the first part of my career, and then I remember we were using them at some point, or at least I thought we were. Okay,
Or something like
so
them.
yeah, exactly. You always get the squiggly syntax or the
Hmm.
percentages, like with ASP.NET and MVC.
Yep.
Okay, so that's that's how we have the liquid tags working. Now let's look at what the issue is. So if we come here, I'm gonna go to where they're saying it is. So they're saying make sure you're in light mode. So I'm gonna go to my dev because I'm a big fan of the pink theme. Uh, Thanks Ali Spittle for doing that. I always say Spittle, but I'm not sure if it's Spittle or Spittle. But um, I'm gonna switch to a light mode and come
My
back
favorite's the
here.
night theme.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. I try and I mix I'm usually on the pink theme, but I switch it up every now and then just to make sure like components and UI is like rendering properly
Hmm.
in terms of colors and stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, let's close the Twitter. All right, so we're in the light theme. Now, if we go to this particular blog post that they're talking about, let's go here. Now, I think what they did was, I think it's fixed on this blog post from when I checked this a couple days ago. If we come
Hmm.
down here, okay, yeah. So you don't see the issue here, but originally, if we come back to the issue, I'm gonna scroll down. There's a second there, like it's instantaneous for us three, but the folks on the
Hmm.
stream don't see it yet. So you can see there's a
Okay.
screenshot here where it's the podcast liquid tag embed, but there's no text there. Well, the text is there, but it's a white background and there's white text. So that was what the issue was reported. So I think what happened over here is we'll dig into this because there's a bit of Ruby
Hmm.
code to look at, which I know you're not really familiar with, Marie, and that it's not a big
Yep.
deal. Don't worry about it. I'm still pretty new to Ruby too, so
Yep.
yeah. So I think what happened is they fixed it because when you create a podcast, and we'll go through how to
Hmm.
create a podcast because I only learned how to do this
Okay.
yesterday. um, you can have a background image, and I think they ended up, once they reported the issue, they ended up plugging in a background image, and that's why it looks fine now.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and this is the embed here. Okay, so what we can do is we're gonna try and recreate the issue, but on our local environment.
Okay.
So I think what we'll do is we can do it two ways. I don't know if it's up to you. Either way we can do it, but if you want to share your screen, I can guide you through how to create a podcast on the local
Sure.
website, and
Yep.
then we'll go from there. So just let me make sure that my site is all rebuilt because it was working
Okay.
perfectly before, and then I'm gonna go back to my local host and just make sure I can actually post a blog post because it's not the end of the world because we actually don't need to publish it to test it. It's really just uh, the thing we only really need to do is to see what it looks like in preview mode probably.
Okay.
So okay, so this is just loading up. I'm also gonna switch actually to the light theme. So I'm just gonna go, and for folks who aren't aware, if you go hover over your avatar on the top right of Dev or your local forum, there's a settings area, and then when you come in there, there's a UX section, and this is where you can change your theme. There's also different fonts. Uh, I'm only bringing it up because I've spoken to a few people before, and they weren't even aware of this whole section. So there's even actually an open dyslexic font. So if anybody has dyslexia, you can actually choose that font and it'll help you be able to read the site a lot better. So, okay, I already
That's
did
pretty cool.
switch to, yeah, yeah. And all these themes too, from what I remember, I believe they were all user contributions, um, except for the pink theme because Ali was working at Dev at the time. But I think all the other ones came from community members. I'm not positive of that. Okay, so I'm just gonna save the settings so that we're on the minimal light theme. I think I
Hmm.
might have already been on it, but okay, I'm just gonna try this. Why is it giving me that? Damn. Okay, hold on 2 seconds here. Error, error. It's okay. This is how things happen in real life. So
Yep.
I'm gonna zoom in there a bit. I'm gonna, I'm just gonna nuke it. For folks that do end up contributing or have contributed, sometimes we use service workers to help cache some things. Sometimes after I've been working in my local environment and I rebuild it a few times, sometimes I just nuke the the whole application site data. So you can go. I think it's kind of in the same area in Firefox, but if you're in Chromium-based browsers, you can come to the application tab in the DevTools, and then there's a clear site data button here, and then that clears it. So if I refresh, I should be logged out now. Okay, and I'm gonna log in again, and hopefully everything is good because if it isn't, maybe somebody committed something that broke master. I'm not sure. All right, let's try this again. Preview. It's really weird. So we're not even working on the issue yet. I gotta figure out what's going on here. I'm gonna just stop my site for a second here, and I'm gonna get latest from the main branch. Ours is still called master. There's
Hmm.
I don't know when we're scheduling to change it, but it'll be changed to most likely main because that's what by default now, if you create a new repository in GitHub, it defaults to main, so you don't end up with a master branch. Okay, so I'm gonna check out master. Okay, that's why. I think I was on a branch where I was fixing a bug, and I didn't have the latest of everything from the master branch, and I know there was a tiny issue. Okay, so that's
Okay.
gonna take a minute there. Anyways, let's get back to the bug here. So yeah, so it is this issue here. So you can see, um, yeah, okay, there now the folks at home can see. So you can see when it's in dark mode, everything's showing up properly because there's white text, and then
Hmm.
there's like it's either like the hacker theme or just one of our dark themes. So it's all good there. And then somebody had actually opened a pull request, and this is not to knock the contributor because they did apply a fix. But the thing was it looked like it was completely a front end issue. So they had proposed a front end change, I believe here. So they were
Hmm.
saying go with one of our theming colors, and that I believe that fix does work, but it's actually masking what the real issue is. Which if we go down into the issue here, Ben, who's one of the co-founders and the original creator of Dev, uh, he discovered that, yeah, he's saying, I think this is the real issue. There's an issue with background patterns on podcasts not always being set properly. So
Hmm.
uh, let me just see how my build is going. Okay, my build seems to be back up. I'll test that in a second. So the real issue seems to be that the backgrounds on podcasts are not always set, and uh, he's saying it appears it could be related to our podcast validation. So my guess is here, and we'll go through how to create the podcast in a second. Um, but there's a form, and probably the background pattern is not a mandatory field, and that's probably how they got into that state where they had the white text with the white background. I'm thinking that's it. Um, yeah, and you can see here he's mentioning that he closed the PR of the contributor here because it's related to invalid data. It's not so much a just a CSS fix. And there's another thing that Ben mentions in here, but this I would consider a separate issue that could be in a separate PR. But when
Okay.
we choose the color for the um, for like the colors in the podcast, it's a hex code. So some of them in the site have it with the pound sign first, like the tic tac toe, and then the then the hex code. And then in other parts, like in the podcast, it's just the code and not the hex. Not the hash at the beginning. So that's a separate issue that perhaps you could look at if you want to, or somebody else in
Yeah.
the community. Okay, so let's hopefully be back here and have a functioning site. Got to refresh. Okay, I'm gonna log in again. And I'm just gonna pop it in the chat, but if you're interested in contributing, you can go to docs.forum.com, and in there there's directions and instructions on how to get set up for Mac, Linux, Windows, and you can also use Gitpod, which is kind of like a containerized version in the browser. So that's interesting too. Okay, so we're logged in here. Let's see if I can do the post now. Whew, I think it's working now.
No errors yet.
Uh,
That's always good.
no errors. Now it's not. Now it's
Oh.
just. Now it's just not doing anything. Oh man. Okay, here. Let's try this again.
Spoke too
There we go.
soon.
Hello, Didi. Why is it not working? Hopefully the master branch is all good, but okay. Okay, well, let's worry about that in a bit. Let's let's get to creating a podcast. So uh, I'd never created a podcast on Dev or even on my local environment. So what you need to do is you need to go to localhost, and then I don't know if there's a direct link. If you go to podcasts, okay, it's redirecting to pod. So this will just load up so that the folks at home can see. All right, there we go. So this brings us to the podcast page where this is all test data, obviously,
Hmm.
because we're on local. But uh, what you can do is you can create a new podcast by suggesting one. So we can come here and suggest a podcast. And I don't know if you want to do this yourself, Maria. Like if you want to share your screen, we could do that.
Yeah, I
Um,
can share my screen.
and Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and then just I'll paste this in the chat for you so it's the link, or just go to localhost 3000/pod. Let me
Yep, I'm
stop
already there.
sharing here. All right, you're in the matrix. Cool. All right, I'll stop sharing. Cool. And yeah, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Do you
All
see it?
right. Yeah, there we go. It's popping up. Okay, so you're logged in as yourself, and just to explain to
Hmm.
some folks at home too, there's a few explanations here, but we're using live share right now, and Marie is actually connected to my local host through the magic of Microsoft technology. So we're on the podcast page. You can go to the suggest a podcast, and you can check off you're the owner of the podcast if you'd like. Uh, and you can come here. You can just make up stuff. YOLO, Marie's best podcast. I don't know, Chef Antons. I don't know, tasty treats. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I can say tasty treats. West Boss and Scott Tilinsky use that on Syntax FM. So
Yeah.
Wes is from Canada too, so maybe he'll give me a pass on that. Okay, so website URL, you can put whatever. You can put like YOLO.com, like HTTPS or whatever. The real thing we need is the feed URL, and I'm gonna get you a test URL for that. Just let me pull that out of my back pocket here. Okay, go on. What is? Oh yeah, I gotta go into 2 seconds. Podcasts. No, that wasn't it. It's in my Slack. That's where it's at. 2 seconds. Mm. So we're gonna grab a. It's a test. I guess test that. Well, it's not test data. It's a real podcast link. It's from
Hmm.
NPR, I think. I'm just trying to find where I had a bookmark. NPR. Okay. Org section. Yes, news. Where are it? Okay, well, it's that. I'm gonna just have to go on to. I'll pick like Syntax FM or something. Syntax FM feed. Let's go find that. RSS. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'll paste this in the Discord chat for you.
Okay.
Here we go. If you paste that in, so we're testing things out with the Syntax FM feed. Uh, Twitter, you can put yours. I don't think it's mandatory. There's already some stuff I see in here that can be improved in terms of the form. Like we should be showing what's
Hmm.
required right away. But if you
Yeah.
scroll down, so you could maybe take note of that too in terms of improving the form. If you scroll down all the way, you can
Yep.
click on suggest, and then it should fire validation, but it's server side, I believe. Okay. Yeah, so it's saying those things can't be blank. So we'll need to do those first. So for the color, for the sake of testing this bug, let's do just 6Fs for white. And then you can choose,
So what is
yes,
slug?
you can, it's what the link is going to end up being. So localhost 3000 slash something. So it's just the name. So you can call it, I don't know, turtle, potato, carrots, julienne. I don't know.
You know. But
Okay. There's an image too that you'll need. If you don't have one handy, you can. Let me see if I can. I guess can you take a screenshot of part of your screen and just save that, and you can use that.
yeah.
Let's make this big again, and then you can just save that on your local. Um, doo -doo. And then once you have that, you can just choose it from the file. Okay, cool. You got your test one. What else was it saying you were missing there?
Main color hex. Image can't be blank. Slug can't be blank. So I think that's all.
Okay, so let's submit that. Okay, so it selected it to be a potential podcast now. Now what we need to do is we need to make you. This is it, it's still a little clunky how we add podcasts from what I've seen. You need to be an administrator to add the podcast. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into live share for a second here. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. Or actually, can you stop sharing your screen for a second? And we're just gonna switch views. We're gonna go to VS Code and come over here. Let's make us big again. There. Cool. All right. And we can hide. There we go. Cool. There. And let's get VS Code back up. I still haven't found a great way to do this. Every time I reopen my streaming software, the editor and all the things they're just not showing. So, all right, I got my VS Code open. Everybody should be able to see that now. Okay, so what we need to do is a few things here. Do you want to open up on your live share? Sorry, in your VS Code, because we're connected to live share, you should be
Yep.
able to open a terminal.
Yep. I have one.
Okay. Okay. Does it show my terminal or does it look like it's yours?
It looks
Like
like
it
mine.
like okay, here wait. Let me see here. Let's get it shared. Live share. Share terminal. There we go. Read write. Okay, so you should have a terminal that just opened up on your screen.
Yep.
Does it say like dev forum master?
Yep. That's what it says.
Okay. Okay. Just type hello. Okay, yeah. So I can see you typing in mine. Okay. So what we need to do here is you're not an administrator on my local site yet, so we need to make you one. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start the Rails console. So you can type
Okay.
Rails space C, uh, just yeah, RAILS C, and then enter. And there's a bunch of Ruby gem warnings. That's something on my machine. I don't know. I don't know why they're there. I haven't fixed it yet, but it doesn't seem to break anything. Okay, so we are. I'm just gonna go up a few to get rid of all those error messages. Okay, so we're in the Ruby console now. I'm gonna jump up a bit, and the Ruby console because I'm still a Ruby noob. So and if there's folks new to Ruby, it's a way for you to access data and other things within your Ruby on Rails application. So for example, I can say like u equals user dot last, and you're gonna see, I'm gonna close my sidebar. You're gonna see it outputs a bunch of data here, and if I look in there, there should be Marie's account, I believe. Yeah. So I can see over here in the highlighted portion, it says Mrs. Anton. I always read it as Mr. Santons. Sorry, that's my bad. So
No, yeah.
Mrs. Antons. So that's your user. Okay, so now if I type u, the variable which I just set the u equals to user.last, that will show your current user. This is kind of like, I guess think of it like a JSON-ish format of, I guess this is how the Ruby console just outputs things. But it's your whole user object here. So you can see your user number 12. You don't have any articles. There's a lot of information in here basically. So
Yeah.
what we need to do is we need to make your user an admin now. So there's a few commands we need to do, and I'm gonna pull those up. This I do have bookmarked, so give me 2 seconds. It's like pin. How am I not finding any of this stuff today? Oh, here it is. All right, it's right there. Okay, I'm gonna paste this whole thing in the Discord for you, and what we'll do is we'll
Okay.
do it line by line, and I'll explain what's going on to the folks at home while we do that.
Okay.
So, all right, so I just sent that to you. Okay, so in the lines of code I sent you there, the u equals user.last, that's what we just did, but you can run it again. You can see I put a little
Okay.
comment there. It says pound me. That is just me saying that that's me. But it's the last user, and you were the last person to log in and register on the site, so that's why you're the last one. The next one
Okay.
is you're going to create an array of roles, so that's the second one, the second line there. Yeah. So this hasn't done anything yet aside from say create a variable called roles with these string items in the array. Now what we need to
Okay.
do is we need to apply these roles to your user. So if you look at the next line and paste that in, we can go over that quickly. Okay, it's running now. So you see it did some database stuff. I'm gonna just scroll back up a bit. Give me 2 seconds here. Oh, did a lot of database stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight it, but what we did here, this is for folks from JavaScript land, this is like a for each. So you're saying it's running the each method on the array, and then each role that it finds in the array, so like say for example, single resource admin, that's the R here, and then u is the user, which is you that we declared initially, and there's a method
Yep.
on there called add role, so we're looping through the array and adding each of these roles that are in the array. And Christina, if you have a sec, if you Google active record and ORM for object relational mapper, you can just touch briefly on this. But Ruby on Rails, like you've used .NET, so I don't know if you've used Entity Framework or not, but
Yeah.
it's the
Yep.
same. It's the same idea. So
Okay.
you're making changes to the database through methods that it kind of abstracts away all the databasey stuff to it. So
Okay.
here when you created the roles, you can see it's doing a select statement in the database. We use Postgres, and it's just getting all the roles we need, and then it's applying them to the user. So there's this user roles table. So that's all. That's what's happening there, and the Ruby console is just outputting all this. Okay, the next line we have is the u.add role single resource admin, that line there. You can paste that one in.
Yep.
Okay, okay, so you ran that one. This one, I'm not as positive about what it does. Let me go to where did it add it? Okay, maybe it didn't run that much. Okay, I can't see where the command was made. Anyways, what it does is it's creating, it's this, from what I understand, it's this single resource admin role that you have, it's associating it to the config in the admin dashboard so that you'll have access to the admin dashboard. So
Okay.
I'm gonna close this down and we're gonna switch back. If you want to just share your screen, and I'll bring us back over here. Oops, wrong screen. Okay, yeah.
Do you want
If
me
you
to
just want to
share
go
the
ahead and share your screen.
Do you
Yeah,
want me to share the
you can go
podcast
back.
screen again?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There we are.
Cool. Why do I not see it yet? Okay, it's over here. Okay, and let's watch the stream. Cool. All right. So we've suggested the podcast, which is what you just did before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the admin page. So in your browser URL bar there, instead of pod, just put admin. And I don't think you need to log out and log back in. You should have the roles. Okay, yeah. Disregard the setup not complete thing. That is important if you're running a real site, but for now in dev environment we don't. For what we're doing, we don't need it. So there's a section in here. If you scroll down, it's called podcasts. Okay.
Yep.
So click on there, and you're gonna see Marie's best podcast. Folks, if you're on Overcast or Apple, please give that a rating, 5 stars preferably. Okay, so if you click on Marie's Best Podcast, it should kind of come to this page here. What we can do is we can say fetch episodes. And okay, so it says it's processing them. So it should, I think it gets the last 5 episodes of the feed. So the last 5 shows from Syntax FM. And if we come back there, if we go back into Marie's Best Podcast, okay, you can make yourself an admin, but it's not really necessary because you're already an admin of the entire site. And if we scroll down in there, there's the edit podcast section. Okay, that's all good. So we can go back to the previous page. And this is where I got a little stuck and I was speaking to some of the team. We're going to be cleaning this up. But you can see in the table, if you look at the header columns, it says like EPS, reach, pub near the side there. So that's episodes, reach. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it's related to analytics. But pub is whether it's published or not. That should really be published, like the full word, just to make it clear to everybody.
Okay.
So we need to publish it, but we can't do it from here. And I was kind of like banging my head on this yesterday because I was reading the instructions I was given, and they're like, just press the check the checkbox that says publish and then submit it, but there's no checkbox here. So we need to go to another page. It's the old admin pages that are being migrated. You need to go to, instead of admin/podcasts, delete that whole part, including the admin. And I believe it's just resource underscore admin. And okay, so on the left there should be a podcast episodes or podcasts. Can't remember which one it is. I'm still new to this stuff. Okay, so you can edit yours.
Okay.
And in there, I believe there's a checkbox to say published. I hope there is. Yes. Okay.
There. Yep.
So yeah, so you can say update the podcast.
Okay.
And this is what I was talking about. Currently there's these 2 pages to manage this. We're looking to consolidate it.
Yeah.
And I imagine at some point this will be a lot easier for folks to create podcasts, but I guess it's in the admin section because we want to vet some of these podcasts just so we don't get some spammy stuff going on. So this says it's published now. So what was the slug you gave for your podcast? If you scroll down there.
Potato.
Okay, yeah, which is the best slug ever. I put in the chat that potatoes are delicious. So we just copy that slug.
I love potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those, if you ever come to Montreal, we have poutine. It's very good. It's cheese,
Mm.
potatoes, and gravy, and pretty much anything you want on it. Um, yeah, so go to localhost colon 3000 slash and then your slug there, the potato with the capital, because I believe, okay, it's not loading it
I get a
yet, so let's go
404.
back. Yeah, that's just our way of if you don't have access to something. Well, it also means the
Okay.
page isn't found, but try lowercase p. I'm not sure if the slugs get lowercase when it gets saved to the database. If
Okay.
this doesn't work, okay, so it's still giving a 404. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back and we'll figure out why. Uh, the reason why we're getting a 404 is because there's something about the podcast not being published properly. Let's
Okay.
try. Let's try using a test feed. If you go to podcasts again on the left there, there's
Yep.
one I there's one that I had created. If you go to the YOLO podcast or no, the
Yeah.
NPR one. Sorry, the second one. See how it has 3 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just uh, copy the feed down there, the feed URL. Yeah, and then we'll go back to your podcast and we'll put in that feed URL because I know that one works. Maybe I was maybe it's not the RSS one which I put for Syntax FM. So let's edit
Oh,
this. Let's update the feed URL. Now it's gonna tell you that the feed URL already exists. So because I was testing stuff, I just added stuff to the query string. If you go up top here, yeah. So
okay.
this is good validation because we don't want to be
Mhm.
publishing the same podcast. So you see how I
Yep.
added A equals A at the end there? Just put
Yep.
something else like A equals B or potatoes rock, whatever you think is acceptable, and then we can save that. And this, okay, cool. So now if we go to edit podcast 7, maybe I just want to see if it actually has gotten the podcast URLs. Okay, not there. Let's go back to podcasts on the left there in the sidebar.
Mhm.
We just need to make sure that it's published. So it still says uh, zero podcasts. Okay, let's go to the other page we were on before. So just open up a second tab. We'll leave this one open for now. Go to localhost and then just admin slash, yeah, instead of resource admins, it's just go to admin. I can't remember if it was admin podcasts or, okay, yeah, it is. Yeah. So then in here, go to podcasts. We're doing a lot of setup to actually work on the actual issue, I know, but this is stuff you
Yep.
would have to do if you're on your own anyways. So let's go to
Mm-hmm.
Marie's podcast and click on the fetch episodes again, and hopefully this retrieves them this time. And while that's happening, this just brings up something that I forgot to mention at the podcast, at the beginning of the stream. Every time we do these pairings, the goal isn't to get this fixed like in this session. If it does, that's great, but it's not like an interview where they're like, here's a test, finish it in an hour and a half. The goal of this really is to get you familiar with the forum code base, get you
Mm-hmm.
up and running, go through the issue so we understand what's going on. If we finish things, that's amazing, but it's 100% not the goal. It's really just to get you started. And typically, what happens is folks will continue on this on their own. They'll create a branch and then eventually put up, say, a draft pull request, and then myself and other folks from the team will provide feedback. And if you have questions, you can do that in the issue as well. Sometimes even folks from the community chime in because there's lots of folks with different skill sets that can help out. So just wanted to clarify that. So if you go back to the other page now, and
Do you want me to do a
let's,
refresh?
uh, yeah, yeah, just give it a refresh, and it should show still 0 episodes, eh? Hmm.
0.
I wonder if it takes
Hmm.
time. Quick. Let's try going to your potato podcast. Like if we go to the slug.
Oh.
Yeah, you can just open up another tab there. So just go to localhost 3000 and then
Oh,
oh no, Google's on the localhost. Um,
yeah.
we'll go to
Flush.
potato. I'm guessing it's case sensitive, but it's a good question to ask the team. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to potato with lowercase. Let's try that again. Okay, so it
Yep.
still hasn't done that. Okay, there's clearly something we missed here. So if we go to edit it,
Yeah. So
okay.
when we did
Oh, I think,
fetch, it said they were being synced or something.
yeah. Click in the podcast episodes input up top. I think, yeah, it's like the first one. Ah, they're in there. Okay, so just,
Oh,
okay. I don't know why that
there we
wasn't
go.
obvious. I did that before. Okay, so let's update that. And if we come back to your page, the third tab you have open there, just refresh.
It's
Okay,
probably
let's
the
try with the,
uppercase.
hopefully. Um, if this doesn't, ah, okay, so what's
Oh,
missing?
no.
That's okay. We're just real live debugging. So,
Because
um,
this is
okay,
now changed to 5 episodes.
okay, so it's up to date now. That's good at least. Okay, so let's go back
Mhm.
to the other page. Maybe we can republish it. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you just go to the first tab
Yep.
and okay, it's got some there. All right. Yeah, let's. Is it this page you can edit? Yeah, let's edit this. I feel like there's a bunch of UX improvements we can do in here too, but
Mm-hmm.
okay. Let's unpublish it and then let's republish it. This is me
Hey,
just kind of
hey,
guessing.
Nick.
Yep.
Fernando says that's an interesting error. Is there anything odd in the terminal running the server?
Yep. I'll take a peek. Uh, Let me just exit the Ruby
Fernando's one of
console.
our coworkers. He's in here helping.
Yeah, thanks, Fernando. All right, let me check over here. So far, nothing suspect. Okay, I'll let's go back here. I'll check the terminal in a second again. Yeah, just unpublish it and republish it. Is that what you did? Okay.
That's what I did.
Hmm. Okay, so it's giving
Then
a
I'll try
horrible.
lowercase potato.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what's
So I wonder if any of my
happening.
other podcasts work, if that one is not.
Yeah, we can check because I made one before. If you just open up another, yeah, this one. If you go to localhost up first there in another tab or there, yeah, here's good. I created this one either earlier today
Yes.
or yesterday.
So this is what it should be. Hmm.
Okay, so I'm curious why yours isn't publishing.
Do you think I need to change the slug to lowercase?
We can try that.
I don't
It's
know
a
why
good
I would.
it's a good question because
Hmm.
if people were to type in uppercase, we should save it as lowercase because all the slugs in the site are lowercase. Let's try that.
Yep.
Nice.
So
Marie hacking the
so
matrix. All right.
which is
I'm gonna take
interesting
a
because
yeah. Go ahead.
maybe either you should put some logic in there to just change it to lowercase if someone puts uppercase,
Yeah, 100%.
or put a little notice.
Yeah, I think what we could do is, and these things we're running into have nothing to do with what we're actually supposed to be working on, but it's still good. Uh, I think one thing in the form when
Hmm.
someone submits it, or like from the suggested podcast page or the admin page, we should validate on the client side to not allow for. We can use a pattern in the HTML5 in the inputs. There's a pattern you can use. So if we
Yep.
specify that it can only be lowercase, that's great. But we still need to do server side validation because although it does help the user experience doing it on the front end, it doesn't
Hmm.
guarantee it. So I'm gonna take a note of that. That's another issue we can fix, and I feel like that would
Yep.
be uh, definitely a good one for somebody easing into the code base. So
Yeah.
slugs can be saved as uppercase in podcasts. Just a page and a page. And yeah, I wonder if it's because we have routes in the site, so like when you go to a user, it knows to go to that user and
Hmm.
so on. I
Yep.
wonder, I wonder, we probably never transformed the uppercase ones, and because we tried lowercase, it wasn't saved as lowercase, so it wouldn't find it. So that's why I think in both cases it was giving the 404. So,
Okay.
anyways, uh, I'm gonna do a time check. We're at 2 o'clock, so I think we're still good to go for a half hour, and we'll wrap up
Yep.
around then. Um, okay, so just to recap to all the folks at home, because we were debugging a few things and all that, we're working on an issue, and there's some people that have joined the stream. We're working on an issue with podcast liquid tags where in some instances, if you're in the light theme, you'll see this issue where you can't see the text in the podcast liquid tag because it's the same as the background color. Appears to only happen in the light themes. So that's the actual issue we're working on. What we've been doing here is we've been doing some prep. I don't know if you want to maybe kind of recap what we've been doing, Marie, or if you want me to. I'm fine either way.
You can.
Okay. Yep. So first we got set up with Marie. She's connecting to my
Hmm.
local host through LiveShare. She created an account, and then from there we uh, we had to make her an administrator of the system because as an administrator you have access to approving and publishing podcasts. So the first thing we did was there's a page on the site that's accessible publicly. I believe you need to be logged in, but you can suggest a podcast, and that's where we put in the slug with the capital P for potato, which caused us a little snag. You provide a feed URL for the podcast and so on. And then we came into the admin pages. So if you want to go back to like say the first or second tab there, Marie. I can't remember which
Yep.
one's yeah, so this one, the second one, sorry. So we came to once we'd suggested the podcast, we came here. Once we got the valid feed working, which we ended up using a test one, which is the NPR site's podcast feed. We fetched 5 episodes. That's what you can see here. And then we ran into some snags because there's a second administration page to publish it. And if you go to edit this again, Marie, this page will just show folks what we did here. So yeah, so we had to select some podcasts to make as part of the publishing process. Uh, I guess for me, from a user standpoint, I would have assumed if I've suggested a podcast that just all the episodes should be published, but or like the feed just pops in new ones. So this is something maybe I'm just not aware of with the admin page. I'm not really sure what the point is of having to ask them to add podcasts there. So and yeah, you could change it to uh, and what does it say? Okay, when it's an empty stream, the last 1,000 episodes are fetched. Okay, that that makes sense to me, but I still don't understand why we need to select them in the other page there. So I'm gonna take a note of that too. Just because these are all things it's always good to question things and ask why things are the way they are. Okay, so why do we need to pick episodes to publish the podcast? I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe they want to select certain episodes only, but I would find that odd. Like, I mean, I've never done a podcast, but I would feel like you would want to publish all of them. I think you got muted or your audio's out. Okay, yeah, I think you are muted. Oh, yeah, there. Wait, talking yet?
Nope, not yet.
No, no, that's
Um,
Christina's.
maybe your headphones, sometimes that's like if they're Bluetooth, if they go in or out at all, sometimes we have issues with that. You might want to check. Because I don't see you as actually muted. It's not showing you're muted.
Hmm.
Yeah,
There we go. I heard
yeah,
you.
You can. Oh,
you
Yes.
came
nice.
back.
Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say maybe they limit five and then they make you pick five because maybe you're writing an article about just certain like technology and then you have like three or four specific podcast episodes about that technology. So you want to
Yeah,
choose those exact podcasts. So maybe that's why.
yeah, yeah. I'm really not sure, but I'm gonna ask anyways because it's I'm curious. Okay, so finally we're all set up. So if you go back to your third tab there, you have the actual
Yep.
podcasts. So let's try and create the issue now, and hopefully I don't get that authentication data error now. But okay, so okay, these show links. Okay, I guess this is all pulled out of the feed.
Yep.
Okay, so if you go back up top, I think you can pick an episode, or let's see here. Is there episodes in here if you scroll down, or is this the particular one? Okay, yeah, this is
This is
this
the
is an
particular
episode
one.
run. Yeah, so copy that URL in the browser there, and just open a new tab, and you're gonna write a new post. And the what we're gonna do now is so just give the post a title, awesome potatoes or potato podcast. That's good. Uh, all right. Totally
Does
tuber, not
does
tubular.
potatoes have an E or
Depends where you're from.
I
I can't remember if
guess I
that's
haven't written
the.
the word potatoes in a while.
I think I write potatoes with an E because in Canada we use like it's more
Mhm.
British. So like when I write color, I write COLOUR. So
Yeah, but I think I
anyways,
write with an E2 for potatoes, and I'm, from
we
the
should maybe
US.
do a we should do a dev discuss on potatoes maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
Uh, there we go. We're trying to find the hard answers here, folks. Okay, so let's just put in a bit of text like hello or something, and then we're gonna add the podcast liquid tag. Okay, yeah, and then just put the squigglies, and then it should be the space doesn't matter between the first percentage and the liquid
Okay.
tag. So I
Hmm.
think it's just podcast, all one word. I don't know if the
Yep.
casing matters, but we'll find out shortly. And then you can
Yep.
paste the that URL in. That's one thing I always do
It's
too.
from here, right?
Sometimes yeah, do the whole thing though, like the local host
The
as
whole
well.
thing.
That one. Yeah,
Okay. I didn't know
cool.
if it was
And then
similar to how we did Twitter.
okay, yeah, yeah. No, this one I think it's the whole thing. So um, we'll find out
I
if
have
the
a fun
yeah
potato fact if you all want to hear.
Yeah.
we do.
All right,
Gonna go.
so potatoes without the E is incorrect, but so many people do it that they have a way to remember. So the way to
Uh,
remember is that potatoes with the E is the plural form of the noun potato, which represents it's edible. So potatoes are edible and they have an E. So that's what they share between them. That's what they say
okay.
to
All
remember.
right. All right.
I
I don't know
thought
if
it was
that's
going to be
helpful,
like a toes thing.
but there you go.
That's awesome. Cool. All right. So we have a bit of text in here. We have a liquid tag.
Mhm.
Let's click on the preview button up top. I really hope it doesn't say base authentication. Okay. Cool. Okay. Here's another thing.
Unknown tag.
Yeah. So it's lowercase. So once
Ah,
again, once again, I as a user, I feel like this would not be relevant. Okay, that's something else. But let's go back.
internal.
I'm gonna check in the log and see what did it say. 2 seconds. Try go to the preview mode again. so that it gives the error?
Mhm.
Okay, okay, it said it loaded the podcast episode. I can probably share my screen actually. That's probably better.
Do you want me to stop
Yeah.
sharing mine?
No, you can keep doing that, and I'm just gonna switch to the VS Code view for folks,
Okay.
and then they can see. Uh, you'll be able to see it too if you go into my terminal. I think
Yep,
you still have access to it.
I do.
All right. Let's do this. Shrink this over. Why is this not closing? Cool. And let's hide the non-video. Okay. Well, that's good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna shrink this over because it's too big. Cool. All right, so it's saying it was able to load the podcast. Like if we look in here, so you can see it went to the database, it selected the podcast, and then so it looks like it's throwing. Oh no, it appears to be okay here. It says it went to the liquid tag for podcasts on line 50 in fetch podcast. Oh wait, no, sorry. I don't know if this is the error, like a call stack, or if this is
Hmm.
just Ruby saying it's getting something. I can't tell. Okay, yeah. So started processing. It says site config load, and then okay. I thought it was an error with a call stack. It's just telling you where you're at. So it loaded the podcast. Then podcast loaded, so it went to the database, got the record, and then it's saying in line 50. So let me close this. So it's saying it went here. So that's where this is all happening. And then it's saying it'll raise an error if the target unless target podcast. This always trips me up. Unless it's like the opposite of if else. Uh,
Hmm.
it'll only raise the error unless the target podcast and target episode is. This always trips me up when I read these things. Um, it's also because I haven't done a lot of Ruby. Yeah, so this. Okay, raise an. Okay. I understand it now. It'll only throw an error if these things aren't set. That always trips me up. So we don't appear to be getting any errors because that's the line it's talking
Mm.
about here.
Okay.
Rendered podcast episodes. There doesn't appear to be anything in terms of an error, so I'm not really sure why it would be giving an error. Let's go back to your screen share. So I'm just gonna
Yep.
switch over here again. Okay. All right, let me just make this bigger for folks. Cool. All right. So we have the URL. Everything looks okay. If you click preview again,
Yep.
hmm, liquid error internal, and I'm not getting anything in the.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's HTTP localhost 3000. That all looks good. Um, let's try grabbing one of the episodes from the podcast I created just to see if it's something
Okay.
related to the podcast episode you created somehow. If we go to is it the first tab we had in it? Yeah. Yeah, I think we can go
Fernando
here.
said you also might want to save the draft if you didn't either already. He said he's not super familiar, but that might be worth trying.
Okay, so before we change anything here, Marie, if you go back to there, save draft.
Save.
I have a feeling it's going to give the same error, but okay, so it saves it, but it still just says there's an error. Okay,
Okay.
but that's interesting because I think that's some functionality we changed at one point because I think before you couldn't save it if there was an error. I, I think we switched that up so that folks, like, even if they had something broken, they could still at least save their work. Okay, so let's go to the one I created. Um, it's the
Was it
up first.
the?
It was an NPR one too, but if you go to localhost / up dash first,
There we go.
Okay, so let's click on one of those episodes. Let's copy that URL there. And I keep toggling between URL and URL. I'm a hypocrite, I guess. Um, let's paste that
Is it
in and let's
Earl?
see what. Well, it depends on, I guess, the time of day for me. I don't know. Sometimes I say URL. Okay, interesting. So
Yeah.
not that one doesn't even work. Okay.
Um, so are you sure we need all of this?
You
All of
can
the
try
URL?
it, but I you can try just maybe up first. But if you click on the liquid tags on the right there in the editor basics help,
Yep.
I believe you need to supply the whole thing. If
Oh,
you look for
yep.
podcast, it's not the
Did
case
you
for everything.
see Rafi's comment? He said, I think it might be the find by failing.
Okay, let's check that out. We'll just make sure that we have, I believe the syntax is correct, but if
Okay.
what did it say in the liquid tag documentation there?
It said
Because I know there's a podcast example in here.
user
Okay,
podcast. Yep. Yep. Full.
okay.
Full.
Oh, yeah. This is gonna sound silly, but can you put a space after the podcast, between podcast and percentage? I said before it didn't matter,
Yeah.
but I know it sounds super silly. I don't think it's gonna change
Yeah.
anything, but if it does, like,
No,
okay,
it
okay,
doesn't.
good. Cool. All right. So Rafi was saying check out the find by method. So let's go over there and let's go back to your podcast episode so we can figure out which one we're going to go by, and maybe we'll go into the Rails console or something and see. So you want to paste that in the chat, or actually what we can, you have access to my VS Code. What am I saying? We'll do that. We're going to switch back to VS Code in
Okay.
2 seconds here. Okay, cool. And you can stop sharing your screen for a second.
Yep.
Okay, and let's hide the non-video participant. Cool. All right. Cool. There we go. Now we're back. Everybody can see us. Cool. All right. So yeah. So if we look for, I'm not in the root Rails console right now. This is just the logs
Mhm.
from the server running. So I'm gonna look
Okay.
for find by, like Rafi was suggesting, or maybe he meant actually write in the code. So there's find. Okay, here. Okay, so let's do this first. So this is me starting to do some real Rails debugging. Well, you're gonna do it, but
Yep.
let's open up. I'm gonna open up a terminal. Uh,
Okay.
2 seconds here. Cool. All right, now I'm gonna. You should have access to my terminal, I think.
Yep.
If you
I
type
do.
rail, yeah. So let's go Rails space C to start the console. C is just short for console. You can write either, and they both work. Do you have
I
access
cannot
to
edit
one?
a read-only terminal,
Okay, let me make it
so
accessible for you.
I requested read write.
Yeah, all right,
Cool.
you're in. Do not delete
Rails
my
C.
hard drive.
I'll try not to.
Okay, or if you do, be polite about it. Like, oh,
Okay.
sorry, I deleted it. Okay, so it's loading up. Okay, we're back in the Rails console. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
get rid of some of these error messages so it's less noise. So like we did
Mhm.
before, uh, I talked briefly about the object relational mapper. Rails uses out of the box, it comes with active record as far as I know. Active record is like entity framework, so it's an object relational mapper. So
Okay.
we got your user before doing the user.last. What we're gonna do is
Mhm.
we're gonna work with the podcast now. So if you look at the
Okay.
top in the code there, which you should be able to see
Yep.
too, line
Yep.
49 it says podcast.findby. So let's
Yep.
paste that into the Ruby console.
The whole line.
And yeah, well you won't need the slug part. Just do the podcast.findby. We can put
Okay.
it into a variable too actually. Yeah, copy the whole thing and then we'll adjust it.
Hit
Okay,
enter.
now uh, We don't want to hit enter yet because if we do, it's just
Okay.
gonna probably say that this is a method. What we want to do is we
Yep.
want to put the parentheses, and then in the code that we're looking at, it's expecting a slug variable. I believe that's what it's doing.
Hmm.
So we
Yep.
we know what our slug is. It's potato. So just put potato in single quotes, and then let's assign it to a variable like they did in line 49. So let's say target underscore podcast equals.
Okay. Oops.
I think this is the most I've ever used the Rails console today, so it's good. I'm getting familiar with it, and so are you. So it's all good. All good.
Yep.
Shake and bake. Cool. Let's
There's a
press
couple
enter.
comments if you want to look on some
Okay.
suggestions in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, Megan's saying you need the arguments. So, oh, okay, I get it. So, is it like a, you have to type slug colon first? Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what Megan's saying. So
Okay.
I think potato stays in quotes still, but you do slug colon. Yeah, yeah, that's what Megan put. I don't know if you
thank you,
prefer
Meg.
Megan or Meg. So yeah, and then press enter. Yeah. Okay, so we can see it loaded a podcast description, only the
Hmm.
coolest. So your podcast is definitely there. Let's
Yep.
try loading an episode because that seemed to be the main issue with the. Uh, oh wait, this.
The episode
I'm
slug.
wondering if no, not that. I just had a brain fart. Is it? We're using the podcast liquid tag, but is the podcast liquid tag for the whole podcast and not the episode? I think that might be the
Oh,
problem. Can we just
that
try
makes
that?
sense.
If we go
Yeah.
back to go ahead and share your screen.
Hmm.
Well, actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's finish this stuff with the console first, because let's just make sure that
Okay.
we actually have this stuff.
Okay.
So let's copy line 50 from the code, and we're gonna put that in the Rails console. Um, but instead of the episode slug, we're gonna put in a string, which is the slug. If you go if you go into your browser where you had the podcast episode in the liquid tag, just copy the slug part, so everything after the localhost 3000 slash, and paste that in here.
Okay. Would it still need up
And you
first and then season 13?
uh, whatever all the text after the last front slashes in the URL, let's put that in
Okay.
here. All right, so okay, so it did find it. Okay, so that works. Okay, that's great.
Hmm.
So let's go back to, we've got about 10 minutes going here still, but let's keep
Okay.
going a bit. Let me just switch us back to the Discord video and go ahead and share your screen again.
And you'll want the podcast website. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go back to the local host.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see your show non video. Oh, there we go. Watch stream. Cool. And cool. All right, so folks should see that. Okay, so let's just go to the liquid tags for a second and see if we saw the podcast one, but is there a podcast underscore episode maybe?
Yep.
Oh
Here
no.
it is.
Also, all you need is the full link of the podcast episode. Okay, so it seems to be okay.
Hmm.
I wonder. Let's see. Why would that not work? Okay. Um, podcast episode embed. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Meg said press. Yeah, Meg. Yeah, okay. Not Megan. Yeah. Meg. Meg it is Meg. Cool. Um Okay, so it is the right liquid tag. Can we just? I'm
Okay.
wondering if we can embed a full podcast. So like if we just delete the last part there of the URL, like the slash S13, or just cut it out for a sec. Let's go preview.
Yep.
I wonder if it can show the full podcast or okay.
Invalid
So
podcast link.
so this is good though because there's proper validation happening on the liquid tag. So it's definitely the liquid tag is having trouble rendering for some reason. So we might go back in the code. So we'll get the
Okay.
full URL again. And yeah, let's just try that one. Let's preview again. I'm gonna assume it's gonna say okay, liquid
Same.
or internal. Okay, let me see what it's saying in the console, and we'll switch back to the console too. I'm just gonna
Okay.
go to the end here and see if there was anything.
So it doesn't look like any spaces between the percentage signs or anything, so I don't think it would be that.
Yeah, just for fun, let's test a Twitter embed again too. Uh, we
Okay.
can cut out the podcast one for a sec.
Yep.
This is also a good example of issues aren't always super straightforward. Like the setup to get to actually testing the issue might take a while. So, um, and yeah, so just go to Twitter and just grab an ID out of some tweet that is hopefully safe for work. Um,
Yeah. So I just click.
yeah, so
How do
click
I
on there,
get
and
the
then
ID?
if you click on the tweet, it'll open up it'll change the URL. Just copy the number in the URL there.
Oh, I see.
Basically, I'm trying to rule out issues. So like if this gives an issue with the Twitter liquid tag, then clearly something when I rebuilt.
Yeah,
Okay, so
bad authentication data.
oh, interesting. Let's see here. Okay, so maybe there's something. It could be just something with my setup, which is odd. The authentication data, I don't know why it's still giving that because I have my Twitter and GitHub keys set up.
Mhm.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Well, it's not giving a liquid tag though, so this seems to be more related to the Twitter liquid tag, I guess. But we're still having an issue with uh, the other one loading up. So let's put back the other one in, and
Okay.
when you, I'm gonna open up my the server
Um,
log, and once you have the podcast episode popped in there, let me know, and then I'll tell you when to hit preview. I'm going to switch us back to VS Code view, and you can stop
okay.
sharing your screen.
Okay.
And let's go back there. Okay, back to there. Cool. And shake and bake, we are back. Okay, so yeah, now on your screen, I'm just gonna put some spaces here to get rid of the existing server output. Okay,
Yep.
so if you could preview the liquid tag when it gives the error there, I just want to see what shows up in the terminal here.
Preview again.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and then it should load up. Okay, cool. So we got a bunch of stuff here. So
Mhm.
you can look in the VS Code terminal if you want with me,
Yep.
and the folks at home should be able to see this too. So I still don't see any errors. It's giving a 200 OK here, so that means a HTTP status code of 200, which means that it was OK.
Yep.
Um, and it said it rendered the podcast underscore episode slash underscore liquid.html.erb template, and that's what
Mhm.
renders how like the the podcast episode embed looks like. And we see that I guess it loaded your user too for something else. So there's nothing showing us errors here. So I'm not really
Hmm.
certain what's going on exactly. Um, I will say though we are reaching. I think we're reaching about 2:25 p.m.
Yep.
My time, Christina. Uh,
Yep.
we should probably start wrapping things up. Um, I don't know if you want to recap what we've been looking at, Marie, or if you want me to. I'm fine either way. Um,
What we've been looking at currently about the errors with the liquid tags.
well, just in general, what we've been looking at. If you want to recap it, if not,
Oh,
I'm okay to do it if you want to. Either way.
yeah, I think we went through how to set up creating a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And then we walked through how we set the slug. We found out it had to be lowercase. Um, hmm,
And it's
what else?
and we were able to get some podcast episodes
Hmm,
published, which was good.
yep, yep.
Um,
We found out we had to choose the podcast episodes, which you were going to ask about the reasoning behind
yeah,
why we had to choose the last five.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then so we were able to get a podcast published, and then we got some episodes in there, and then
Yep.
we're hopefully trying to dig into the actual issue, but there for whatever reason it's very possible there's something in my setup because I do like kind of build up and tear down my environment frequently because I switch between branches, but I'm kind of curious, yeah, why it's giving a liquid tag errors, especially I don't know if Fernando's still in the stream or not, but I would have expected if there was any errors that I would have seen them in the server console. Uh, I know we have other telemetry in the application, like we use Ahoy that Vaidehi was talking about yesterday during the stream,
Hmm.
and we have Honey Badger for errors, but Honey Badger is disabled when you're doing local development, and Ahoy, I have no idea if that's actually running when you're doing local development. I'm not sure where to look if that is running. I don't know where to look for that in the log, so that could be somewhere to look too. But I
Okay.
would have expected. I guess the thing is, uh, it's when the liquid tag renders because there's also because it's MVC, there's a liquid tags controller,
Hmm.
and that's what helps route all the data to the view to render the particular liquid tag based on the one you choose, like podcast or Twitter. So maybe it's in there that the issue is. We can maybe dig into that after the stream.
Okay.
But yeah, at the moment, I have no idea why we're getting a liquid tag error. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. And then once we figure out what's going on there, then we can actually look at the real issue.
Okay.
Um, like I said, just to recap, the goal of these things, these pairings, it really. Oh wait, sorry, my coworker Fernando's saying yes, the lack of errors in the console is weird. I just checked and I was able to see the liquid tag locally. Yeah, check up the local environment variables. Okay, yeah, that's something we can check. Um, I usually
Yep.
have my environment variables copied in a file and I copy them over whenever I nuke my branch and stuff. But yeah, we can
Hmm.
look into that for sure.
Okay.
Um, I did lose my train of yeah. What I was saying was the goal of these pairings isn't to finish it, like I mentioned partway through the
Hmm.
stream. It really is just to get folks like you involved in the forum code base, kind of help you get started out with a issue that you're working on, and then from there, once we're done, we move it offline. We can definitely do another Zoom or two if you'd like to as well, Marie.
Yeah, that'd be
And
great.
then myself and other coworkers and community folk as well might chime in on the issue and the pull request. So the best thing you can do at this point, even if we end up talking on Zoom and stuff, is we want to document stuff in the issue and the pull request whenever that goes up, just so that
Okay.
everybody has eyes on like the thought process and what was done.
Hmm. Well,
So
and all the
Christina,
things
I
we
think
figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
oh, potato has to
exactly.
be lowercase.
Yeah, and the other thing which would be super helpful is it's not in the issue right now, but all these steps we did to actually create a podcast,
Hmm.
we should add those to the issue. And then also when we're doing whenever you get the pull request up, there's a section in our pull request template that asks about what are the steps to reproduce the issue, or how do you show that it's fixed. So part of that
Hmm.
would be showing how to create a podcast like we did, um, and then showing it working once we do have a fix and stuff. So there's that stuff too to document as well. Um,
Okay.
I think we're gonna wrap up now, Christina, just because we're like 2:31 now.
Hmm.
And that's usually when people start to get a little maybe doze off because it's an hour and a
Hmm.
half is pretty intense. Um, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on the stream, Marie. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
We talked a lot about potatoes, part of the tuber family. Some more fun facts
Yeah.
there. We learned how to spell potato incorrectly and how to fix that
Hmm.
with edible
Hmm.
potatoes. Um, and what else? Yeah, Marie was a chef and now she's a dev. Like that's a pretty cool
Yeah.
crossover from careers. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say before we jump off, Marie. I know Christina's gonna pop in some links for you. Thanks,
Hmm.
Rafi. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, so Christina's just gonna pop in the links you gave at the start there. So I think it's your Twitter handle, and I can't remember if it was a website you had to or what the other link was.
Just my LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah. So folks, yeah, check those out. Definitely give Marie a follow on Twitter. You you can also follow people on LinkedIn. I find that kind of odd. Why
Yeah.
when it's people's profile?
Hmm.
Well, I guess it's okay. I don't know. They've got stories in LinkedIn. I don't get that now. I don't.
Oh,
Maybe
I
it's just
don't
me.
either.
Yeah. So, anyways, cool. Well, thanks again, and
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, I think I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna put some more what you call it, aloe vera on my, not a
Hmm.
slug on my, or not a leech on my arm there. And yeah, thanks everybody for
Cool.
popping on, and thanks again, Christina, for moderating everything, and lots of good chatter in the chat today. So take care, everybody.
Thanks.